All right, y'all, welcome back to the channel. Correctional Officer Stories with Steve. Can't even talk. Appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. It's been so humbling over the last 24 to 48 hours, the love I've got, the respect, the positivity, the new subscribers, like, it's crazy. So I just appreciate it and keep rocking with me because I'm going to keep bringing you some good content. Another shout out to Savage Studios, man. I really appreciate the opportunity again. So thank you, man. I appreciate that. On to today's video. I've been getting a lot of messages of why there's such a big difference from working in a male facility versus a female facility, right? So let's jump right into that. I would say one of the biggest reasons is just the differences in the testosterone levels. Males act different. They're usually more aggressive. They act out. They wild out. You got the politics. Way more gangs. Way more drugs. Way more cell phones. Their girlfriend's coming to visit them. They're trying to have sex in the visitation room. It's just way different. So the adrenaline is so much different for an officer. Like, your adrenaline's pumping when you get in your car, when you leave your house, you get in your car, you're driving to work, your adrenaline is just pumping. You're like, what the hell's going to go on today? Versus a female facility, you don't really have that. Let's just be honest. I'm not trying to be like a sexist pig or a piece of garbage talking shit about females. That's not how I am. I'm not trying to disrespect a female. I respect them for sure, especially my wife. But I didn't really have the adrenaline rush rolling into the female facility. You know, if something popped off on the yard, yeah, I had the adrenaline, you know what I mean? That's what it is. You're going to get that. But I wasn't driving in, parking to the facility, walking in, and my heart wasn't just pumping like it was rolling into a male facility. It was just two completely, entirely different things. Now, I'm going to admit, there was a couple units at the female facility I worked at. If I had to get cross-leveled over there, meaning like if they were short-staffed, and this was when I was a sergeant, they would cross-level you out across the street. My unit that I worked out, there was two sides of the prison. So I was on one side. The facility I'm talking about that I would go to was on the other side. If I had to go cover a shift because they were short-staffed or they had an incident or whatever the case was, it was usually they were short-staffed and needed a sergeant to cover, I would get sent over there. This particular yard had a lot of little petty fights, and like sometimes the chicks would slash each other with the razor, or it just depended. But it wasn't like you were rolling over there because 10 guys just got stabbed, or they were smashing their heads in, or two natives saw each other from Dene and Warrior Society and they automatically had to fight, and they don't stop. You've heard it on some other channels, like they do that war cry and they don't stop. So it's just different. You don't have that adrenaline constantly pumping. It's more laid back. Females whine more. It's just different. They're more emotional, right? I'm not trying to talk shit. They've got more emotions than the males do. The males are way more aggressive. They'll get up in your face. They're ready to fight you if you disrespected them. There's drugs all over the place, especially on these medium to minimum custody yards. Man, these yards are flooded with dope. Dope everywhere. I mean, yeah, they're on the max custody levels too, because it comes in through visitation and the porter will slide it back to the detention unit or the maxis pod, wherever they're in. But it's different, man. So, like I've said in my previous videos, if you're trying to become an officer right now, you're going through the process, you're getting ready to go through the academy, and you haven't made the decision yet, pick a male facility because you're going to really get the gist of what it's like working in prison. And if you go to a female's facility, that's fine, but just remain firm, fair, and consistent always. You're going to always do that in a male facility. You're going to make sure you damn sure do that in a female facility. Remember these three words: firm, fair, and consistent. You don't need to do petty things like petty tickets and you catch them out of line or whatever, you just remain firm, fair, and consistent. And something else I wanted to touch on in a male yard. I worked a level 4 yard, so there were a lot of 4s and 5s, meaning we had some max custody inmates on our yard that were reclassified to a 4, so they didn't have to go to detention because we were usually completely maxed out in our detention units. They were over full. So they might have tons of disciplinary and fights, but we were overriding them to stay on the yard just because we didn't have any room. So every morning, my shift was from 6 to 2. We'd hit the yard about 5:50. We'd put our stuff up. This was before I started working the max custody, or even if they needed help on the yard, I'd come out of max custody fully suited and booted. We had to wear a vest and blah, blah, blah. It's hot. And one of the things I would do when I rolled into the pod where they were still in their cells to wake them up for chow is I'd go, "Mátale la caballo! Sandra la trapinta! Vámonos vaya!" I would do that, right? And I would do that, and it would wake them up. I'd laugh with the officers. The inmates would be like, "F you, man, shut up." But I did it so much that they became accustomed to it. It wasn't like a disrespect thing. They'd come out of their cells. It wasn't like they had to walk past me or I could go hide or be scared or whatever. I had to pat them down as a level 4 yard. So we had to make sure they weren't bringing anything out they weren't supposed to. Didn't have any weapons on them. And then when they would go out the building, they would have to clear through a metal detector. So they weren't coming out with something. Yeah, sometimes we would miss something, but if they got by us, the metal detector would catch it. And then they would line up and they'd have to walk to the chow hall. And then depending on what pod it was, one pod got to go to rec, the other pod locked down, right? In a female facility, you're not going to do that. As an officer, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to roll into like a bay setting. There's some bay settings, but the way that this female facility is set up, it's built on the outside, so you don't walk into like a pod. You don't walk into a building. And even if you did, it's completely different. Like I would never do that. They'd probably put me under investigation for like a pre-up. A female inmate would drop a kite on me so fast for doing that, and they'd spin that kite saying I was yelling sex stains and crazy stuff. Like that's another difference. Females are too emotional. They're not going to be taking you doing that. But the males are different. Like it's just different. It's very different. So make sure when you're considering where you're going to work, make sure you take this into consideration and listen to what I'm saying, because I've been there, I've done that, I've been assaulted, I've been involved in assaults. On a female yard, a female's not going to just be beating you down. Like that ain't going to happen. A male yard, you can bet, especially if you're on a GP yard and you're disrespecting people, you're disrespecting races, it's going to happen, man. I was... Right before I started on the yard I went to, there was a huge riot. One of the officers got air evac'd. The head of the Hispanics made the call. He just gave a nod and they jumped. All the officers that were on that yard, one of the officers ended up losing eyesight in his eye. And I'll tell that story the best that I can in another video, because I wasn't there, but I've heard so much about it, and I heard it right from the officer who was one of the main ones involved, and it was over him. I heard it from his mouth. So I'll try to tell the story the best that I can without adding things in there that didn't happen. I'll make that another video. That was a big deal, a big day, a bad day. So that's not going to happen in a female facility. If it does, I'd be super surprised. And I'm not trying to punk down a female facility. I'm not trying to say there's nothing going to happen. It ain't crazy. Shit goes on. You're going to be busy. You're going to see shit you're never going to see on the street. You're going to see hangings. You're probably not going to see too many overdoses, but you're going to see hangings. You're going to see inmates, females are be cutting the shit out of their wrist trying to commit suicide, and they're not playing games. A lot of them are trying to commit suicide because they don't want to be there. So, and you get that in the male facility too, but you're going to see more of the trying to commit suicide and the hangings in the female facility versus like the overdoses and the stomped in heads in the back of the runs in the male facility. So it's just two different beasts. Your adrenaline when you're rolling into a male facility always is going to be pumping. You're going to be on high alert. And go in there. Don't be weak-minded. I've said this several times before. If you are doing this just because you need a paycheck, don't do it. Don't do this job because you're wasting your time and you're wasting the department's time. And hell, you're even wasting the inmates' time. You're wasting their time. You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't do it because it's not going to work out. You know what I mean? It's not going to work out. You know, for some inmates, you might not be wasting time because they're becoming compromising the fuck out of you and you're going to be bringing in phones and dope and whatever. But I'm telling you, don't just make a solid decision. You want to be a correctional officer, if you want to use it as a stepping stone or whatever you think you're going to use it for. I thought I was going to be a cop and corrections didn't. You still have to go through the process. If you're using this as a stepping stone to become a cop, you're still going to have to go through the process to be a cop. So it's really not a stepping stone. It shows you some of the ropes. Some things are similar, like K-9 unit, tactical support unit. But that's a whole nother topic. And if you get in a male facility, join some things. Like try to become a K-9 officer. Try to become an SSU sergeant. Security threat group is where they're looking at all the STG security threat groups. So that's what they do all day. They investigate gang acts, gang violence. They try to validate gang members and they try to get them off the yard. Like there's a whole bunch to that. But that's something you can do. You can get on the tactical support unit. Be active. Don't just be stuck on the yard because you're going to start to hate the job. They're always short-staffed. The prison facilities are always short-staffed. You're never going to have a full staff. Shit, when I was there, I thought we were short-staffed. Now they're like 20 and 30 people deep, like short-staffed. It's crazy, and that's for another video for me to explain that short-staffing, and I've kind of touched on it in a video. But I'm telling you, remember, male facility, adrenaline like crazy. If you're adrenaline junkie like me, do it. If you're not, and you're kind of timid and you're shy and you just kind of don't know what's going on, you're barely spelling your name, hit that female facility, start. No, I'm kidding. Be serious when you go into this position and really realize what you're getting into, and you're working around some of the most dangerous people in society. And that might even be a correctional officer. They might put you in that danger zone. But for the most part, it's going to be the offenders, right? Because that's why you're working in there to keep care and custody of them. So remember that. I worked with some really good officers. I'm going to give him a shout out. I don't think he would mind me blasting his name out there. Contreras was his name. He's got a brother that worked in the females facility. He's now over there. They're both over there. But him and I worked lockdown together. And we used to just run a tight ship. Cato was another one. Diaz was a really good officer. Ran a tight ship. There's probably a lot that I'm missing. When I went down to be a recruiter, I met this sergeant that I would always hear about on the yard, but we never really talked, and now we became really good friends. I wish I could have worked with him because he was a good role model, as were all the other guys I just mentioned. Ockleitner is his name, so I'm giving him a shout out and I don't think he would mind that I'm shouting him out. Squared away dude, involved. He started in a female facility. He's like a role model for somebody that could just transfer into a freaking male facility and run shit. Strong-minded dude, new policy, followed the rules. I mean, it just stand-up guy. So like all the rest were. So remember, if you're going to go into corrections, take it serious and really realize the differences between a male and female facility, because there's a lot of differences. So once again, man, I appreciate you all rocking with me. I'm going to cut it short right here. Just got off from work. Got a busy day tomorrow. So I tried to do a live. I didn't know you had to have 1,000 subscribers to do a live. But hey, check it out. We'll get there, y'all. CO Stories. We are fam now. So keep rocking with me. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to get a name for you guys. So like, I see a lot of guys, this squad and that squad. I want to have some name where I can call you it, and we can rock out and we can talk. Especially when I can go live, we can do all kinds of stuff. I'm gonna try to do an interview with a couple cats. I'm still a rookie at this, so bear with me. It'll continue to get better. Again, I appreciate all the love and respect, all the positivity, man. It's humbling. It really is. It really is, and I'm being honest about that. So I'm going to continue to tell my story. give advice. It might not always be in reference to corrections, but it might be, main daily life stuff. But I'll continue to rock with you if you rock with me. Heavy. So again, I appreciate y'all. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can rock with me when I drop another vid. And yeah, much love, man. Peace.